Hello, my dear students. I know, exams are just around the corner, but please don't worry about this chapter, Sectors of the Indian Economy. We're going to make it so simple for you. I promise you'll remember everything and it's going to be a piece of cake.
You know, if you just look around, you'll see people are doing so many different things, right? Some are farmers in the fields, some are working in big factories, others are in offices. Our economy is just buzzing with all this activity. So, to understand it all, we group these different jobs into what we call sectors.
Jonah, let's have a quick look at our roadmap for today. We'll talk about what these sectors are. Then we'll see how we count our country's income. After that, we'll look at the difference between organized and unorganized jobs, and finish with the big employment challenge we face in India. This is going to make your revision super easy.
So you might be thinking, why do we even need to classify all these activities? Well, think about your school timetable. You have different periods for math, science, English, right? It keeps everything organized. We do the exact same thing with our economy to understand it better. It's really that simple.
Okay, so the main way we group all these jobs is into three big sectors. You must have heard these names before: primary, secondary, and tertiary. Now, don't worry about the big words. We'll break it down. Trust me, it's very easy.
Let's start with the very first one, the primary sector. Think of this as the base, the foundation of everything. This is where we get things directly from Mother Nature. Any work that uses natural resources like land, water, forests, it all falls into this category.
So what does this look like in real life? Well, think of a farmer growing cotton, or a dairy getting milk from cows, fishermen catching fish from the sea, or miners digging coal from the earth. All of these are primary activities because they are directly connected to nature.
Now, what happens next? That brings us to the secondary sector. This is basically the making things stage. Here we take all the raw materials from the primary sector and, through manufacturing, we change them into something new. That's why we also call it the industrial sector.
For example, we take the sugarcane from the farm, and a factory turns it into sugar. We take the cotton, and a mill turns it into cloth. We take iron ore from the ground, make steel out of it, and then build a car. See the connection? This sector is all about manufacturing.
And finally, we have our third hero, the tertiary sector. You can think of this as the helper sector or the service sector. The jobs here don't produce any physical goods. Instead, they provide services that support the other two sectors and, well, make our lives easier.
Just think about it. How does that sugar from the factory reach your neighborhood shop? By trucks and trains, right? That's a transport service. Banking, teachers, doctors, even the internet you're using right now to watch this. All of these are services. This sector is literally everywhere in our lives.
Okay, quick exam time. Let's see if you can classify these. A flower cultivator? Where would you put them? How about a courier person? And workers in a match factory? Take a second, think about it. Ready? Okay. A flower cultivator works with nature, so that's primary. A courier delivers things, a service, so that's tertiary. And a match factory makes something, so that's secondary. See, you got it? Fantastic.
Great job. So now we know the three sectors. But the next big question is, how do we measure how much money each sector makes? How do we find out our country's total income? Well, the answer is a very important term you absolutely need to know for your exams: GDP.
Let's understand this with a simple story, the story of a biscuit packet. First, a farmer sells wheat to a flour mill for 20 rupees. The mill then grinds it and sells the flour to a biscuit company for 25 rupees. Finally, the company bakes the biscuits, packs them, and sells the final packet to you for 80 rupees.
Now, listen very carefully. This is the most important part. To calculate the total value, we don't do 20 plus 25 plus 80. Why not? Well, because that 80 rupee price of the biscuit packet already includes the value of the wheat and the flour. So to avoid counting the same thing again and again, we only count the value of the final good. In this case, that's 80 rupees.
And that, my friends, leads us to the official definition of GDP, or gross domestic product. It is the value of all final goods and services produced inside a country in one particular year. Just think of it like our country's annual report card. It tells us how big our economy is.
Now look at this chart. It shows something amazing about India's economy. Back in the 1970s, the primary sector, mainly agriculture, was the biggest part of our economy. But fast forward 40 years, and wow, look at that change. The tertiary sector, the service sector, is now the biggest contributor to our GDP by far.
But here's a puzzle.
And this is a very, very important point. Even though the service sector makes the most money for the country, it hasn't created enough jobs. A huge number of our people, almost half, are still working in the primary sector. So what we have is a strange situation where most of the money is made in one sector, but most of the people are working in another. This is one of India's biggest challenges.
Now, to understand this job situation a little better, we have another way of classifying sectors. This one is based on working conditions, and it gives us the organized and the unorganized sectors. Let's understand it with the simple story of two neighbors, Kanta and Kamal.
So, Kanta works in an office. She has fixed working hours, gets a salary every month, she gets paid holidays, and she has job security. Her job follows all the government rules, so we say she is in the organized sector. Now her neighbor Kamal works at a small grocery shop. He gets paid daily, has no fixed hours, no paid leave, and no job security. He works in the unorganized sector. What a huge difference, isn't it?
All right, one last classification, and this one is the easiest of them all. It's all about who owns the company or the service. This gives us two more sectors, the public sector and the private sector.
It's really simple. In the public sector, the government owns everything. Think about Indian Railways or the post office. Their main goal isn't just to make profits, it's to provide services for the welfare of the public. On the other hand, in the private sector, companies are owned by individuals or groups, like Reliance or Tisco. Here, the main motive is to earn profits. Easy enough, right?
Okay, let's go back and solve that puzzle from before. If agriculture's share in the money is so small now, why are so many people still working there? The answer is a very important concept for your exams called hidden or disguised unemployment.
So, what does this mean? Imagine there's a small farm, and it really only needs 3 people to do all the work. But in the family, there are 5 people, and because there are no other jobs, all 5 of them work on that same small farm. Now, it looks like all 5 are working, but those extra 2 people are not really needed. Even if they leave, the amount of crops harvested will be the same. They are disguised as being employed.
So what's the solution? How can we create more jobs? Well, the government can invest in things like building dams and roads and villages. This creates jobs and also helps farmers. They can give cheap loans so people can start their own small businesses. And a very important government scheme you must mention is MGNREGA. It guarantees 100 days of work in a year to people in rural areas.
So you see, this chapter is not just for your exams. It's about understanding how our country really works, knowing where our money comes from, where the jobs are, and the challenges we have to solve. That's the first step towards building a better India for all of us. You've got this. All the very best for your exams.